Let yourself be still now. There is nothing left for you to do tonight. The day is behind you, finished, whether it went well or did not, and none of it needs you anymore. You can set it down. You can let your shoulders grow heavy, and your hands grow soft, and your breath grow slow and deep and quiet, like the tide going out from a long, dark shore. Listen, the story I am going to tell you tonight is very old and very slow, and it asks nothing of you but that you rest. You do not need to remember it. You do not need to follow every word. The words are only a soft road for you to walk down until you fall asleep, and you are welcome to fall asleep at any time. Whenever your mind drifts, let it drift. Whenever your thoughts wander away from my voice, let them wander. That is exactly what is meant to happen here. Tonight we go back further than any year you could name, further than the first cities, further than the first fields, further than the first fire any person ever kindled in the mouth of a cave. We go back before the mountains, before the rivers, before the sea. We go back to a time before there was a sky to hold the stars, and before there was an earth to stand upon, and before there was even a difference between up and down. We go all the way back to the very beginning, when there was nothing yet but a great, soft, formless dark. Imagine that dark for a moment, the way you might imagine the inside of your own closed eyes. There is no edge to it. There is no floor and no ceiling. There is no near and no far, because there is nothing yet to measure distance against. It is not cold and it is not warm. It simply is, vast and patient and unhurried, turning very slowly upon itself, the way deep water turns far below the surface of the sea. The old storytellers had a name for this. They called it chaos, but not the loud, frightening kind of chaos you might think of. This was a quiet chaos, a gentle and shapeless mingling of everything that would one day become the world. All of it still folded together, still sleeping, still waiting. Light and dark were not yet separate. Heavy and light were not yet separate. Everything that would ever exist was there, but none of it had a shape, and none of it had a name, and so it rested all together in the warm dark. And in the middle of that dark, slowly, over an age too long to imagine, something gathered, the way frost gathers on a cold window without anyone watching, the way a single drop forms at the tip of a leaf, slowly, slowly, until it is whole and round and ready to fall. Out of the formless dark there gathered, at last, a great egg. It was a cosmic egg, larger than worlds, though there were no worlds yet to compare it to. Its shell was the soft boundary between the dark inside and the dark outside, and within it all the mingled stuff of the universe was folded close and held warm. And inside the egg, curled and sleeping, was the one who would one day make the world. His name was Pangu. He was sleeping then, as you are nearly sleeping now. He had been sleeping for a very long time, and he would sleep for a very long time yet, and there was no hurry in any of it. Let that be the first gift this old story gives you tonight. There was no hurry at the beginning of all things. The world took its time. It did not rush to be born. It rested in the dark, gathering, and so may you. Stay with the egg a while. We are in no rush to wake him. Picture it suspended in the boundless dark, slowly turning. Inside, Pangu lies curled, his knees drawn up, his great head bowed. His breathing so slow and so faint that whole ages pass between one breath and the next. He does not dream, or if he dreams, His dreams are the first soft stirrings of everything that will one day be. A green that has not yet become a forest, a blue that has not yet become a sea, a silver that has not yet become the moon. All of it asleep inside him, waiting, the way a whole tall tree waits inside a small brown seed. The old tellers said that Pangu slept inside the egg for 18,000 years. Let that number wash over you without trying to hold it. 18,000 years. It is not a number meant to be counted. It is a number meant to make you feel how patient the beginning was, how slow, how unhurried. Through all those long ages, the egg turned in the dark, and Pangu slept, and the warm, mingled stuff of the universe settled around him, light and dark still folded together, heavy and light still mingled, everything still waiting to be sorted into its place. There was a softness to that long sleep. Inside the shell, it was warm and close and dim and safe. Nothing pressed on him, nothing called to him. There was no morning to wait to, and no task that needed doing. He floated in the warm dark, the way you might float in still warm water, with your eyes closed, weightless, held, asking for nothing. And the universe held him, and turned him, slowly, for 18,000 years. Perhaps you know that feeling, just a little, in the last soft minutes before sleep. The feeling of being held by something larger than yourself. The bed beneath you, the quiet around you, the dark settling over the room like a hand laid gently over a candle flame. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to hold yourself up. Something larger is holding you. You can let go. That was how Pangu slept all those long ages, while the stuff of the world grew slowly more ready around him. And though nothing seemed to be happening, something was. Inside the warm dark, the two great natures of all things were beginning, very slowly, to draw apart. There was a heaviness in the dark that wanted to sink, slow and cool and deep, and the old tellers called it yin. And there was a lightness in the dark that wanted to rise, clear and warm and bright, and they called it yang. For 18,000 years, these two had been folded together, mingled, indistinguishable, but now, so slowly that not even Pangu felt it, they were beginning to long for their own places. The heavy longed to settle below. The light longed to float above, and the egg could not hold them folded together forever. So the long sleep drew at last toward its end, not with alarm, not with any sudden thing, only with the faint, slow stirring of one who has slept long enough and is beginning, at the very edge of waking, to feel the first thin thread of a new day. Pangu drew a breath, deeper than any breath in 18,000 years, and in the warm dark, behind his closed eyes, he began, slowly, to wake. Do not wake with him. Let him do the waking for both of you. You stay here in the warm dark, held and weightless and asking for nothing, while the story carries on without needing you to lift a hand. When Pangu opened his eyes inside the egg, he saw nothing at all, only dark. The close, warm, folded dark that had cradled him for 18,000 years. And for a while that was enough, the way it is enough. In the first moment of waking, simply to lie still and feel that you are here. But then he tried to stretch, and his hands met the shell, and his knees met the shell, and he felt for the first time how small the warm dark was around him, and how much of him there was, and how he longed suddenly to stand. There was a great stiffness in him from the long sleep. He felt how curled he had been, how close, how folded, and a slow, quiet wish rose in him. The simplest wish there is, the wish to stretch out fully, and breathe in fully, and stand up straight. So he reached for whatever was nearest to hand in the dark. The old tellers say that what he found was a great axe, formed from the mingled stuff of the universe itself, as though the world had made him a tool for the work it needed him to do. And with that axe, Pangu struck out, once into the dark. The shell of the egg cracked. It did not shatter with a roar. Think of it more gently than that. Think of the small, clean sound of ice giving way on a pond in the first warmth of spring. A long, soft seam opening through the dark. Through that seam, for the very first time, the folded stuff of the universe began to move. And as it moved, it began at last to part, the way it had been longing to part for 18,000 years. The heavy, cool, dim stuff, the yin, began slowly to sink. It drifted downward, settling, thickening, gathering itself below, and as it gathered, it became the earth, dark and broad and deep and still. And the light, clear, warm stuff, the yang, began slowly to rise. It floated upward, spreading, thinning, brightening, and as it rose it became the sky, vast and pale and high and open. Down sank the earth. Up floated the heavens, and between them, where the shell had cracked, stood Pangu, blinking in the first dim light that had ever shone, with the new earth beneath his feet and the new sky above his head. But the parting was only just begun, and it was not yet sure. The heavens and the earth had drawn apart only a little, only as far as the height of Pangu himself, and the old tellers feared that if they were left alone, they might drift back together again and fold once more into the warm, formless dark. So Pangu did the thing that the world had woken him to do. He set his feet upon the earth, and he raised his hands to the sky, and he began, slowly, to push them apart. He pushed the sky upward, higher, and he pressed the earth downward, deeper, and he stood between them, holding them open, the great pillar between heaven and earth. And here is the slow and patient marvel of it, the part to let yourself sink into now. Each day, the old tellers said, the sky rose 10 feet higher. Each day, the earth sank 10 feet deeper. And each day, Pangu himself grew 10 feet taller to fill the growing space between them, so that always his head was against the sky and his feet were against the earth. And always he was holding the world open with the slow strength of his standing, 10 feet a day, so slowly that nothing seemed to move at all. And he did this not for a year, and not for 100 years, but again for 18,000 long years, growing taller, holding the sky up, pressing the earth down, day after patient day, while the heavens climbed and the earth deepened and the space between them grew vast enough to hold a world. Imagine that patience. Imagine standing so steady, so long, asking for nothing, simply holding the world apart so that it would have room to be. There is no strain in the image when you let it slow all the way down. Only a great calm figure standing in the dim, new light, growing as slowly as a mountain grows, while heaven rises and earth settles into place. After 18,000 years of holding the sky and the earth apart, the heavens had risen as high as heavens rise, and the earth had sunk as deep as earth goes down, and the great space between them was wide and settled and sure. They would not fold together again. The world had room at last to be a world, and Pangu, who had stood between them all that long while, felt the first weariness he had ever known. It was not a bad weariness. It was the good, deep, heavy tiredness of one who has finished the work he was made for. The kind of tiredness that is almost sweet because there is nothing left undone beneath it. He had cracked the egg. He had parted the heavens from the earth. He had held them open through all the slow ages until they could stand on their own. And now, for the first time since he woke, there was nothing more that needed his hands. So Pangu let his hands come down. He felt the sky stay high above him without his holding, and the earth stayed deep below him without his pressing. And a great peace moved through him at the steadiness of it. The world would hold itself now. He could rest. And so, slowly, the way a great tree comes down, the way evening comes down over a wide field, Pangu lay himself down upon the young earth to sleep. And as he lay down, the old tellers say, the most beautiful thing in all the story began to happen, so gently that it was less a death than a giving. For Pangu did not simply end, he became. Everything that he was flowed out of him and into the young, bare, waiting world, and made it rich, and made it whole, and made it the world we know. His last long breath went out of him and became the wind and the drifting clouds and the soft mist that lies in the valleys at dawn. His voice, the last low sound of him, rolled outward and became the thunder, far off and gentle, rolling along the edges of the sky. His left eye rose up and became the sun, warm and golden to rule the day, and his right eye rose up and became the moon, pale and silver, to watch over the night. The great dark sweep of his hair and his beard scattered upward across the dark and became the stars, all the countless stars, strewn like seed across the fields of heaven. And there was more and softer and slower. His body, broad and strong, settled and became the great mountains and the four directions of the land, the high places and the far horizons. His flowing blood became the rivers and the seas, running and gathering and shining under his own new sun. His veins became the long roads and the winding paths that one day people would walk. His flesh became the soil, dark and deep and good, where one day every growing thing would root. His bones became the stones and the precious metals folded deep within the hills. His teeth became the jade and the bright treasures hidden in the earth. The fine hairs upon his skin became the grasses and the flowers and the great green forests. Even the small drops of his sweat, the old teller said, became the rain and the dew, falling soft upon the world he had made of himself. So there was no grave for Pangu, and no place to mourn him, because there was no place that was not him. The mountains were his rest. The rivers were his blood still moving. The sun that warmed your face and the moon that washed your sleep were the two quiet eyes of the one who had made room for the world and then become it. He gave himself, all of himself, freely and slowly and without a single thing held back. And out of that giving, the bare new earth became green and bright and alive. Let that settle over you now. Soft as the mist he became. Everything that holds you tonight, the steady ground, the high sky, the patient stars, the moon at the window, came from one who grew tired in a good way and lay down and let himself become the world. There is a deep rest in that. The giving and the resting were the same thing. To lie down was to become everything. You may lie down the same way now, letting the day's work flow out of you, letting yourself grow soft and heavy and a part of the quiet world. So the world was made, and it was very beautiful, and it was very empty. The mountains stood in their long blue ranges, but no one walked their passes. The rivers ran bright and full to the sea, but no one drank from them, and no one sat upon their banks to watch the light move on the water. The forests screamed, and the grasses bent in the wind that had been Pangu's last breath, and the sun that had been his left eye rose and crossed the sky and set, and the moon that had been his right eye rose and crossed and set, and the stars that had been his hair wheeled slowly through the dark, night after night, with no one beneath them to look up. It was a gentle world. Nothing in it was cruel. The seasons turned softly, one into another, and the rain fell when it was time, and the fruit ripened on the wild trees and dropped, uneaten, into the long grass. But it was a quiet that had no answer in it. The wind spoke, and nothing spoke back. The river sang over its stones, and there was no one to hear the song and call it lovely. And into that beautiful, empty quiet there came, walking, a goddess. Her name was Nuwa. Where she came from, the old tellers do not exactly say, only that she was there in the early days of the world, one of the great shining ones, and that she was kind. She had the face and the arms of a woman, and below that the long, smooth, coiling body of a serpent, so that she moved across the young earth, not with footsteps, but with a slow and graceful gliding, winding through the tall grass, threading among the trees, climbing without effort along the slopes of the new hills. Nuwa walked through the world in its first days and found it good. She saw the mountains and called them strong. She saw the rivers and called them bright. She bent over the still pools and saw the sun and the moon and the stars reflected there and called them beautiful. She passed her hand over the soft new grass and felt it cool against her palm, and she breathed the wind that smelled of rain and green and far-off flowers. And for a long while, it was enough simply to wander in so lovely a world. But slowly, as the days passed and the seasons turned, a quietness grew in her that was not the world's quietness, but her own. She would speak aloud to name a thing she loved, and her voice would go out across the valley and come back to her thinned and alone, and no other voice would answer it. She would see a thing of great beauty. The moon caught in a river, the first snow on a far peak, and she would turn the way you turn when you want to share what you have seen, and there would be no one there to turn to. It was loneliness, the gentlest kind, in the most beautiful of places, but loneliness all the same. Nuwa walked through a perfect world and longed for someone to walk beside her. She wished for a voice that was not her own to call back across the valley. She wished for eyes that were not her own to see the moon in the water and say, "Yes, I see it too. It is beautiful." The world was full of wonders and empty of company, and the goddess, gliding alone through the green, began to wish, deep and quiet and patient, that the world held something more like herself. You may have known an evening like that, a loveliness that asked to be shared. There is no sorrow in it tonight, only the soft beginning of an answer, because Nuwa was not the kind to stay sad for long. She was a maker, like Pangu before her, and where she felt an emptiness, she began, slowly, to think how she might fill it. And so, by the bank of a yellow river, one quiet day, the goddess knelt down. By the river, the earth was soft and yellow, a fine wet clay, cool and smooth and easy in the hand. Nuwa, kneeling at the water's edge, let her fingers sink into it, and the feel of it pleased her, the way good clay pleases anyone who who has ever worked it. And as she turned a little of it over in her palm, an idea came to her, quiet and bright as the moon coming over a hill. She would make something to share the world with. She bent over her own reflection in the still water at the river's edge, and she studied her own face, her own eyes, her own hands. And then she took up the soft yellow clay and began, slowly, to shape a little figure in her own likeness. She worked it gently with her fingers. She drew out 2 small legs to stand upon, where she herself had only her long, coiling tail, for she thought that a creature meant to walk the wide earth and climb its hills might do well to have legs to carry it. She shaped a small round body, and 2 arms, and 2 hands with small clever fingers. She made a head, and in the head she pressed 2 eyes to see the beauty of the world, and a mouth to speak and to laugh, and 2 ears to hear the river and the wind. She worked slowly, and she worked with love, the way you might shape something precious that you mean to keep. And when the little figure was finished, she held it in her palm and looked at it, and it was good. And then the old tellers say, the most wonderful thing. Nuwa set the little clay figure down upon the ground, and it was no longer clay. It stirred. It moved its small new legs, and it sat up, and it looked about itself with its 2 new eyes. And it opened its small mouth, and it laughed, and it began to dance and to leap about her in the grass, alive and glad, and entirely new in all the world, the first person. And it called out to her, a small, bright voice across the valley, and at long last, a voice that was not her own answered her in the quiet world. Oh, the joy of it. Nuwa laughed too, and her loneliness fell away from her like a cloak she no longer needed, because here was company at last. Here was someone to share the moon in the water. Here was a new and living thing that looked up at her with love. And she thought at once, I will make more. I will fill this beautiful empty world with little ones who will laugh and speak and look up at the stars. So she knelt again by the yellow river, and she took up the clay, and she made another and another. One by one she shaped them, each with her own 2 hands, each a little different, each given legs to walk, and eyes to see, and a mouth to laugh. And one by one she set them down, and they woke, and they ran into the world, calling out to one another. Some she made to be men, and some she made to be women, so that they might keep one another company and make more of themselves in the long days to come. And they scattered out across the valley, and where there had been silence, there began to be the sound of voices, far off and near, calling and answering across the green. But making them one by one was slow, so very slow, and the world was so very wide. And Nuwa, looking out across all the empty mountains and the empty plains, saw that she could shape little figures with her hands for 1,000 years, and still the great world would be mostly quiet. She wanted the whole earth to be full of laughter, every valley, every shore. And so she thought of a gentler, faster way. She took a length of cord, a vine or a rope. The old tellers are not sure which, and she dipped it down into the soft yellow mud at the river's edge until it was heavy and dripping with clay. And then she lifted it, and she swung it out over the wide land, and she shook it, so that the drops of muddy clay flew off it and scattered far and wide across the earth. And every drop that fell, the old tellers say, became a person, where the heavy mud had been gathered by her careful hands. Those became one kind of people. And where the light-flung droplets fell, those became another. But all of them woke, and all of them stood, and all of them began to live, scattered now across the whole face of the world, in the valleys and on the hills and along the far shores of the sea. And so the quiet world was filled. The wind that had been Pangu's breath now carried the sound of human voices. The rivers that had been his blood now had children playing along their banks. The moon that had been his eye now looked down each night on a world that looked back up at it. Nuwa glided among her new people, glad and no longer alone. And they loved her, and she watched over them, the maker and the mother of them all. Let the gladness of Bat fill the room around you now, soft and warm. The loneliness answered, the empty world made full. A goddess kneeling by a river with mud on her hands, making, out of love, the company she longed for, and all of it slow and patient and gentle, the way the very best things are made. For a long age, the world went on in peace, and Nuwa's people grew and spread and learned the ways of the green earth. And it was a good time, and it should have lasted forever. But even in the oldest stories, the peace does not last forever, and there came at last a day when the sky itself was broken. I tell you this part softly, because it is the dark turn of the night, and the dark turn is only there so that the long calm of the ending can feel as deep as it does. Stay easy. Nothing here can reach you where you lie. The old tellers told it more than one way, but most often they said it came from a great quarrel among other powers of the early world, a struggle between mighty ones far from the quiet valleys of Nuwa's people. In their struggle, one of them, in his rage, flung himself against one of the great mountains that stood at the edge of the world, one of the vast pillars that, ever since Pangu lay down, had held the high sky up over the earth. And the pillar cracked, and the pillar broke. When the pillar broke, the corner of the sky it had held began to fall. Imagine it as gently as such a thing can be imagined. Far off, at the rim of the world, the high, pale sky that had stood so steady since the beginning sagged and tore, and a great rent opened across the heavens. Through the tear, the order of things came undone. Where the sky had broken, fire fell through and broke out across the forests and burned and would not be quenched. And where the earth had cracked beneath the falling sky, the deep waters rose up out of the broken ground and spread and flooded the low places until great dark floods rolled across the land. It was, for a while, as though the world were trying to fold back into the old formless dark from which Pangu had parted it. The sky was no longer wholly above. The waters were no longer wholly below. Fire and flood ran loose across the green world that Nuwa had filled with her children, and her people fled before them, frightened and cried out, and had nowhere to go. And Nuwa heard them. Of course she heard them. She had made each of them with her own two hands, or scattered them living from the cord, and she loved them as a mother loves, and she could not bear that the world she had made for them was breaking over their heads. So she did not weep, and she did not despair. She was a maker and a mender, and where there was something broken, she set herself, calm and steady, to the slow work of making it whole again. Feel how the fear in the story does not last. The moment the danger comes, the one who loves them is already moving to answer it. That is the shape of this old tale, and it is a kind shape. The sky breaks, and before you can be truly afraid, the goddess is already kneeling to the work of mending it. Let yourself trust that shape now. Whatever felt broken in your own day, let it be handed, just for tonight, to someone patient and steady who knows how to make things whole. You do not have to mend anything yourself tonight. You only have to rest while it is mended. Nuwa looked at the broken sky, at the great torn rent where the fire fell through, and she thought, slowly and clearly, the way a maker thinks. The sky is torn. A torn thing can be patched. And so, she set about gathering what she would need to patch the very heavens. She went out across the rivers and the mountains, through the smoke and the rising water, and she gathered stones. Not common stones, but beautiful ones. Stones of 5 colors, the old tellers say. Blue and white and red and black and yellow, the loveliest stones in all the broken world. She gathered them patiently, one by one, until she had enough. And then she built a great fire. And into the fire she set the 5 colored stones. And she melted them down. Slowly, the bright stones softened in the heat and ran together into a single molten brightness, a shining stuff of 5 colors mingled into one, smooth and glowing and ready. And Nuwa took that molten brightness, and she carried it up to where the sky was torn, and she pressed it, gently and surely, into the great rent in the heavens. She smoothed it along the broken edges. She filled the tier with the melted 5-colored stone, patching the sky the way you might patch a torn cloak with a piece of something even more beautiful than the cloak had been. And where the sky had been broken and dark, now there was a patch of 5 soft colors, mended, whole, holding the heavens closed again. Some of the old tellers said that this was why, ever after, the sky at certain hours wore colors it had not worn before. The soft blush of the dawn and the deep glow of the evening, the rose and gold and violet that spread across the clouds at the edges of the day, these, they said, were the colors of Nuwa's mending, the 5-colored stone still shining faintly through where she had healed the broken sky, so that every sunset you have ever watched, every gentle morning, light is the old goddess's patient repair, still holding, still lovely after all this time. But the sky, though it was patched, still needed to be held up. For the pillar that had broken still lay broken, and the corner of the heavens still sagged where its support had failed. So Nuwa went and found the greatest creature of the early world, an enormous and ancient turtle, vast and patient and strong. And the old tellers say that she took the 4 great legs of that turtle, and she set them up at the 4 corners of the world, planting them deep and sure as new pillars, to stand in place of the broken one and hold the 4 corners of the sky steady and high above the earth, forever after. With the turtle's great legs set as pillars, the sagging corner of heaven was lifted again, and the sky stood firm and would not fall. And then Nuwa turned to the floods. The deep waters had risen and spread across the low places and drowned the green valleys, and her people still had nowhere to stand. So she gathered the reeds that grew along the water's edge, great quantities of them, and she burned them down to ash. And with that ash, the old tellers say, she dammed and turned the rising floods, banking the ash against the dark water until the floods slowed and sank and drew back into the rivers and the sea where they belonged. The waters went down, the fires, with the sky closed again above them, burned low and went out. And slowly, slowly, the green earth came back out from under the smoke and the flood, washed and quiet and whole. When it was finished, Nuwa looked at the world she had mended. The sky was patched with 5 soft colors and held high on 4 strong pillars. The floods were turned and the fires were out. The valleys were green again, and her people were coming back down out of the high places where they had fled, returning to their rivers and their fields, calling to one another across the quiet, alive and safe and home. And the goddess, weary now with the long labor of mending, looked on all of it and saw that it was good and that it would hold. There is such deep peace in a thing set right. The world had broken, and now it was whole. And the wholeness was even more beautiful than before, because now the sky wore the colors of its mending. Let that be the feeling you carry down into sleep. Whatever was unsettled is being settled. Whatever was torn is being patched with something lovely. The pillars are set. The sky will hold. You are safe beneath a mended heaven, and you can let go. So the world was made, and then it was mended. And at last, it could simply be. Think of how much had happened, and how slowly, and how all of it had come to rest. The formless dark had gathered into an egg. The egg had cradled Pangu through 18,000 years of sleep. Pangu had woken and parted the heavens from the earth, and held them open through 18,000 more, and then lain down and become the very world, his breath, the wind, his eyes, the sun and moon, his blood, the rivers, his bones, the hills. Into that beautiful empty world had come Nuwa, lonely and kind, and she had knelt by a yellow river and made, out of clay and out of love, the first people, and filled the quiet with their voices. And when the sky had broken over them, she had melted the 5 colored stones and patched the heavens, and set the turtle's legs as pillars, and turned back the floods, and made the broken world whole again. And now all of it was finished, and all of it was at rest. The wind that had been a breath moved softly over a settled world. The sun that had been an eye crossed a mended sky and went down in colors that were the memory of a healing. The moon that had been the other eye rose over quiet valleys where the people of Nuwa slept in their houses by the rivers, safe beneath the pillars of the world. The stars that had been a great god's hair wheeled slowly overhead, the same patient stars, shining down now on a world that had been made and lost a little and saved and made whole. There is a deep teaching folded into this old story, and it is a gentle one, and you do not have to hold it, only let it warm you as you drift. It is this: the world was made out of rest. Pangu did his great work, and then he lay down, and his lying down was not an ending, but a giving. The very thing that turned bare stone into a living world. Rest, in this old story, is not the opposite of making. Rest is where making comes from, and what it comes to. The beginning was a long sleep in a warm, dark egg. The making was the slow, patient work of ages. And the end, again, was rest, the world settling down at last into its long, quiet turning, holding its sleeping people gently through the night. So when you sleep tonight, you are not stepping out of the world. You are doing the oldest thing the world knows how to do. You are returning, for a while, to the warm, formless dark from which everything came, the gentle chaos before the egg, the soft, deep rest out of which, in the morning, you will be made again. Each night you curl, like Pangu in the shell, into the warm dark, and each morning you crack the shell and rise into the light, remade, and the small world of your day is parted out fresh from the dark, the near from the far, the task from the task, all of it sorted again into its places. But that is the morning's work, and the morning is far away. There is nothing to part out now. Now there is only the warm dark, and the rest, and the slow turning of a finished world. that needs nothing of you at all. Let your breath go slow and deep. The way Pangu breathed in the egg ages between each breath. Let your body grow heavy and still. The way the great mountains are, his body grown still. Feel the steady ground beneath you, his rest holding your rest. Feel the high sky over the roof above you, held up on its 4 strong pillars, mended and sure, not going to fall. The sun is set, the moon is up, the old quiet eye keeping its watch. The stars are out, strewn soft across the dark. And you are held as Pangu was held, as the first people were held, as the whole green world is held, safe inside a story older than the mountains. There is nothing left for you to do. The egg is cracked long ago. The heavens are parted and held high. The world is made and filled and mended and good. All of it is finished, and all of it is resting. And so, now, may you. Let my voice grow faint. Let the words blur into the dark. Let yourself sink, slow and deep and warm, down past the last thin edge of waking, into the formless quiet where everything begins. Sleep now. The world is whole. The sky will hold. Good night.